This is Mary Lane from the Buying Space channel. Today I'm reading from the Torah in the book of Genesis. And the last time I read, we heard about the origins of the Israeli and the Arabs, and how Ishmael is the father of the Arabs, and Isaac is the father of Israel. Those two sons of Abraham were separated from each other, and Ishmael and his mother were sent out into the wilderness. But they survived, and they made mighty nations. Ishmael had 12 sons that were princes, and the Arab world, for the most part, is descended from him. His descendant, Muhammad, created a religion. He was a prophet, and he led many people into his way of thinking. And some of you are thinking, why would Myra be promoting that? The descendants of Israel are treated as brothers to us Christians. They are the children of Abraham. But wait, so are the descendants of Ishmael. We all believe in the same God, Yahweh. So I'm going to move on to more about Abraham, a part that has nothing to do with his sons. And then in my next reading, we return to a part in the Bible that talks about Ishmael, actually talks about Isaac, but the Quran has a different version of what happened. So let's continue with Abraham. And it came to pass at the time that Amalek and Phicol, the chief of his host, spoke unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, shalt thou do unto me, in the land wherein thou hast sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. Previously, Abraham withheld the truth from Amalek and did not tell him that Sarah was his wife. So Amalek has every reason to say to Abraham, please deal with us honestly. And he agrees. And Abraham reproved Amalek because of a well of water, which Amalek's servants had violently taken away. And Amalek said, I know not who hath done this thing, neither didst thou tell me, nor have I heard of it but this day. If you have an event, don't just blame someone. Abraham should have immediately gone to Amalek and said this happened. And then maybe he could have found out what happened, who it was. But he just did not know anything about it. So don't assume that if someone's in charge of a company, for instance, that they know what all their employees have done. I mean, sometimes when people say, well, that corporation's evil, they did this. Sometimes it's individual actors that work for a company. Maybe the board of directors, CEO, um, bosses within the company don't know. Just as an example. Sorry about the derailment. Anyway. And Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them unto Amalek, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 all lambs of the flock by themselves. And Amalek said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 all lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 all lambs shalt thou take from my land, that they may be a witness unto me that I have dug this well. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swore both of them. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba, and Amalek rose up, and Pico the chief of his host, and they returned unto the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted an orchard in Beersheba, and called there the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham sojourned to the land of the Philistines many days. What level of maturity Abraham had? Here he withheld information about his wife, and Amalek made him swear that he would deal honestly with him. And then Abraham made another mistake. He did not go to Amalek when the event happened with the well and discuss it with him. He just harbored resentment in his heart. So later, when he was before them, he reacted maturely, and he gave him gifts and set these lambs free as a symbol. How mature is that? I find today that people will, like the other day, someone cut me off in traffic. They cut me off. I was the wrong party, and yet they used sign language towards me. Now, that's wrong. If I cut somebody off, number one, it's by mistake. It's not intentional. Like, I'm going to get through this light and forget you because I'm in a rush. That doesn't happen with me. So, I just can't imagine cutting somebody off intentionally, just being out of selfishness, and then flipping them off or being aggressive towards them because I'm the one that's done wrong. You know when you've done wrong, right? So anyway, but Abraham made amends for being resentful and for being deceitful, and he made a covenant with Amalek. And because of that, because his emotional maturity, because of his wisdom, this well at Beersheba became an area of an orchard, like an oasis in the desert that he dedicated to God. The situation was improved, and they were able to move forward, and they were friends and could count on each other at this point, because Abraham swore he would deal with them honestly and gave them gifts. And Abraham was wronged originally with the well. Of course, it was not Amalek's fault as he thought. So a lot of people won't say, oh, okay, you weren't a fault, because they're so entrenched in blaming that person that they can't move on. They can't count towards the future. If someone does me wrong, say something happened last year, and I've gone to them and let them know about it, they can improve. Some people may not, some people may. But you can't assume that they're going to do that same thing again. But if somebody wrongs you and you don't tell them about it, they don't know what they need to do to improve relations or maintain relations with you. And I'm not talking about sex, although that does fit the bill too. But in general, you have to let people know what's bothering you, because the emotions, tension, resentment, all of that builds up. So if you go to your brother's house and you do something that bothers him or his wife or one of his children, or even the dog, of course the dog can't tell you, but they should let you know. And vice versa. If someone comes into your home and, they're doing something that bothers you, let them know. Because then they don't have a chance to improve things with you. I mean, it might be just something little, like they, play with something, one of your possessions. They spin around some Fenton, and you're like, please don't spin around the Fenton. That bothers me. And then if you don't say anything, they keep doing it, and finally they break the Fenton. And then there's a real problem. Oh, you broke my Fenton. So you should have said something when they were doing, something hazardous to start with. So the Fenton is broken not only because of them, but because of you. So anyway, I don't know why. I love Fenton. Sorry. But anyway, so we have a lot to learn by the covenant between Amalek and Abraham. Are you going to continue to live in a desert with no well? Are you going to have an orchard and an oasis, a success that you can contribute to God because you had the wisdom to know how to move on when there are differences? Have a wonderful and blessed day, everyone.